I was unaware that there were any other documents in our possession of the nature that have now. I have acknowledged the statement by John Yates that if he had known then what he knows now, he would have done things differently. My relationship with Mr. Wallace continued over the following years, and the frequency of our meetings is a matter of public record. The record clearly accords with my description of the relationship as one maintained for professional purposes and an acquaintance. In 2009, the Met entered into a contractual arrangement with Neil Wallace, terminating in 2010. I played no role in the letting or management of that contract. I have heard suggestions that we must have suspected the alleged involvement of Mr. Wallace in phone hacking. Let me say unequivocally that I did not and had no reason to do so. I do not occupy a position in the world of journalism. I had no knowledge of the extent of this disgraceful practice, or indeed to the extent of it, and the repugnant nature of the selection of victims that is now emerging, nor of its apparent reach into senior levels. I saw senior figures from News International providing evidence that the misbehaviour was confined to a rogue few and not known about at the top. One can only wonder about the motives of those within the newspaper industry, or indeed beyond, who now claim that they did know, but apparently kept quiet. Though mine and the Met's current severe discomfort is a consequence of those few that did speak out, I am grateful to them for doing so, giving us the opportunity to right the wrong done to victims. And here I think most of those especially vulnerable people who deserved so much better from all of us. Now let me turn to the suspicion that the contractual relationships with Mr. Wallace was somehow kept secret. The contracting of Mr. Wallace only became of relevance when his name became linked with the new investigation into phone hacking. I recognise that the interests of transparency might have made early disclosure of this information desirable. However, my priority, despite the embarrassment it might cause, has been to maintain the integrity of Operation Wheating. To make it public would have immediately tainted him and potentially compromised any future Operation Wheating action. Now let me turn to the reported displeasure of the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary of the relationship with Mr. Wallace. The reason for not having told them are twofold. Firstly, I repeat my earlier comments of having at the time no reason for considering the contractual relationship to be a matter of concern. Unlike Mr. Coulson, Mr. Wallace had not resigned from the News of the World, or, to the best of my knowledge, been in any way associated with the original phone hacking investigation. Secondly, once Mr. Wallace's name did become associated with Operation Wheating, I did not want to compromise the Prime Minister in any way by revealing or discussing a potential suspect who clearly had a close relationship with Mr. Coulson. I am aware of the many political exchanges in relation to Mr. Coulson's previous employment. I believe it would have been extraordinarily clumsy of me to expose the Prime Minister, or by association the Home Secretary, to any accusation, however unfair, however unfounded, as a consequence of them being in possession of operational information in this regard. Similarly, the Mayor. Because of the individuals involved, their positions and relationships, these were, I believe, unique circumstances. Consequently, we informed the Chair of the Metropolitan Police Authority, Mr. Kit Malthouse, of the Met's contractual arrangements with Mr. Wallace on the morning of the latter's arrest. It is our practice not to release the names of suspects under arrest, making it difficult to make public details of the arrangements prior to Mr. Wallace's release the same day. It has to be said the timing of the Metropolitan Police Authority committee that I appeared before at 2 p.m. that day was most unfortunate. Now let me briefly deal with the recent story in relation to my use of Champneys facilities. There has been no impropriety, and I am extremely happy with what I did and the reasons for it. To do everything possible to return to running the Met full-time, significantly ahead of medical, family and friends' advice. The attempt to represent this in a negative way is both cynical and disappointing.